Ladies and wait, let me see. It's not. I thought my camera was blurry there. Welcome in. Happy Halloween to everyone. It technically is still Halloween, yes. But here it's about 9 o'clock, so it's like, you don't stay out trick or treating that late normally, but it's surprisingly warm here. It's a little bit too warm for my liking for a fall evening, personally, but I did see the LeBron endorsement. Yeah. It seemed like he was real. I mean, it seemed like it was kind of a nothing burger, honestly. Getting nervous for the election. Men are lower propensity voters than women, and women are winning the early vote. Well, yeah. Well, listen, it's a double edged sword. Women, men vote less than women already, and on top of that, women normally way outvote men in terms of early voting. Women do a lot more early voting than men, so there's going to be a lot more men on election day. But that's why you see the right and all these people freak out. They're like, men need to vote, vote, vote. It's an overreaction, but a necessary overreaction to make sure men vote. But normally, men disproportionately vote on election day. But that's why the right's freaked out about it. Nice Halloween graphic. Yeah, I wanted to throw up some Halloween graphics. I might leave the leaves on there. I don't know. I like the leaves, honestly. Unseasonably warm in North Carolina, high of 80. Yeah, dude, it's really windy. You'll get that with the jet stream. When the jet stream comes up like that, you get warmer weather. It's real windy. It's what happens in the spring, too. You get an unseasonably warm day in the spring. It's normally tethered with real windy conditions. So it'll be like 70 degrees, in early March, but it'll be very windy. That's what it is right now. Which Rust Belt state will be called first? I would still say Pennsylvania. I would imagine. Well, I would still say Pennsylvania. Yeah, I'm ready for it to be over. Somebody was asking me, "Are you ready for it to be over?" Yeah. I mean, I was just thinking like with Trump and how many rallies. I mean, you just go and I guess that's what you have to do. You got to say the same shit over and over again. But it's like 3 rallies a day. I was watching the rallies. I watched the rallies with you guys, and at a certain point, it's like it's just the same thing over and over again, which is obviously what they have to do. But it's like it's got to be very taxing. Virginia or New Hampshire? I think New Hampshire probably would be a little. I'm going to go through all these polls because sometimes I miss them, and there's just so many polls that are being released nowadays. I didn't even see this poll. Washington Post, Harris +1 in Michigan. I mean, Washington Post to me is a little bit more left. It's Michigan Atlas Intel basically tied, but Trump is actually up in this. But if they round it, it is a tie. Mitchell Research, I saw this Trump +1 in Michigan. Based on the recent Michigan polls, you'll take that. Pennsylvania Atlas Intel Trump +1. I was really hoping it would be more than +1 in Pennsylvania. But listen, these states are going to be close. UMass Lowell releases a poll in Pennsylvania. Harris +1. Wisconsin Atlas Intel tied. American Greatness. That's along with TIPP partnered. Wisconsin tie. North Carolina UMass Lowell Trump +2. Atlas Intel North Carolina Trump +4. Can Real Clear Politics add the Trump +6 already? Well, that's actually a concern if they haven't yet. They might not have that pollster in their aggregate, and they might not add it at all. But I know what you're talking about. I was like, that needs to be added. But isn't that Echelon Insights, if I have that correct, the pollster? I think they've been in their poll in here. But you're telling me this right now. They haven't added it yet. That's very annoying. Did you see the LeBron endorsement? Does it affect anything? No, if you guys remember, LeBron actually campaigned with Hillary and J.R. Smith. They had a rally somewhere in Ohio. I'm not sure, back in 2016 when Ohio was a swing state. And it kind of made LeBron look dumb, and Hillary lost and she got crushed in Ohio. So now I think LeBron has toned down his political profile. And I mean, I don't even know what he did, but he barely even endorsed her. It's like he's really not even talking about it. He could be a lot more loud. That's what I'm trying to say. So it seems like he's going to endorse the Democrat. I don't think it really has any impact, honestly. And it doesn't seem like he's necessarily. It seemed like he was a lot more involved with politics in 2016 than he is right now. And I think he got stung with Hillary losing and embarrassingly losing Ohio by 8 points. You've got CNN. Yeah, CNN is releasing more polls. Jesus, because that was today. Alan Lickman is responsible for me dooming about the election and 2022. Oh, the midterms? Yeah, I wouldn't put much stock in the midterms. There's so many first time voters. There's so many only general election voters that are going to go for Trump. The midterms, it's hard to compare. As for, I mean, the dude is that it's just, it's like he's the boogeyman to people. Lickman. Georgia, Trump +5 from Rasmussen. I think Georgia's getting out of reach. Georgia, CNN, Trump +1. These CNN polls are real liberal because even they say it's only +1 in Georgia. That's to me not accurate. Atlas Intel Trump +2 in Georgia, +4 in Arizona. Arizona's looking good. Rasmussen Trump +2 in Arizona. Atlas Trump +4 in Nevada. UMass Lowell, New Hampshire Harris +7. UMass Lowell seems a bit more liberal with these polls, but like I don't think she's going to win New Hampshire by 7. But that's not a great poll if you are Trump trying to flip New Hampshire. But there are a lot of independents in New Hampshire, so we'll see. New Mexico Harris +5. Rasmussen. It's going to be hard to flip. It's probably about a 5.5 point loss, I'd say. National Atlas Trump +2. We expected that. National Forbes Harris X Harris +2. Yeah, that flipped unfortunately. TIPP tracker tied. Michigan Senate. A few Michigan Senates. Rogers down, and then Rogers up. Some Pennsylvania Senates. McCormick down. A few ties. Hovde tied. Atlas Intel. Kerry Lake up in the Arizona Senate. That's funny. But yeah, so that was all the and then we've got some approval ratings. Biden -11. That's not bad for Biden, actually. Generic congressional vote. Republicans +1. So yeah, that's basically it for all the polls. CNN is underestimating Republicans. It does feel like their polls are a little bit left this cycle. We'll see though. We'll see what happens, but it does feel like their polls are left. But I did see, and this market, there was a pretty nice recovery from Trump. I think he was down to 60. Now he's back up to 63. But this is going to start moving rapidly, no matter what. The state we need to watch is Pennsylvania. You really want Trump to stay around 59, 60% in Pennsylvania. That's what I'll say. Why is Trump going down in poly market? Because they when you look at betting, there was so much value on Harris. There's very little value on Trump at 67% in terms of winning right now, based on the polls. So it's understandable that people would find more value in Harris. That doesn't mean she's going to win. They just find more value in her at 34, 35%. So it was a correction. ABC simulation. I don't do that's a nothing burger. It's just to me, it's just a graphics thing. It's a nothing burger. There's no way that would. Why would they tell an outlet that? And with the amount of people, I just there's no way that's possible. That would be a thing related to cheating. Thoughts on Wisconsin? Very very close state. I think Trump ends up winning it barely, but it's going to be a close state. There's no doubt about it. The winner of PA will win the election. Very likely. I mean, there's more scenarios where Trump could lose PA, but Harris definitely needs PA. Why do they keep changing the Harris photo on Polymarket? Do they? I don't know. I haven't even noticed. Using Kamala's Senate photo. Yeah, I don't know. But that's basically that. Some of this stuff. These Atlas Battlegrounds, these polls just got released. That was today. I covered that. This is the CNN map. Yeah, CNN's a lot more liberal with their polls. They have Harris at 278. They have Pennsylvania, I guess, 50-50, so they're not predicting it. But these are pretty crazy numbers. I just can't see any way Harris wins Wisconsin and Michigan by 5 and 6, and then Pennsylvania's a tie. It's just not possible based on how those states vote each election. Dark mode on X. I think this is like this. I don't know. It's kind of dark, I guess. Just normally I need the light for like so I can be in the so I actually get light on me. I did buy like a ring light or whatever, but I don't like using it. Harris wins Arizona. Yeah, I just there's no way I see Harris winning Arizona either. That's another one. But I mean, it's only 1 point. It's like Thoughts on the ABC simulation? It's a nothing burger. Who's winning currently? Trump's winning. Did you see LeBron's propaganda video? No, I didn't. I just heard he was endorsing Harris. I think Steph Curry made something like that as well, where he endorsed Harris. How long will you stream on election night? Until it gets cold, so probably at least 7, 8 hours. It's probably going to be. I mean, if I start at 6 or 6:15 or something, you don't want to burn yourself out. But do you think realistically Trump will get another state beside the seven? I think it's unlikely at this point, man. I mean, who knows? It's hard to predict something like that. That would be more of a feel prediction rather than an actual prediction based on any type of polling. I mean, it would have to be like a New Hampshire, maybe Virginia. I can't see at this point really anything else. I mean, we'll see. I'm sure they're going to pump out more polls and probably because New Hampshire's like the brand new swing state or whatever, so they're probably going to get some polls on New Hampshire, and we'll see. 72-hour stream that wouldn't even. No, you're not even allowed to go because the way YouTube works, it's only a 12-hour increments, so it automatically stops your stream and it starts it again. But I wouldn't want to do that. But there's no way it's going to be over 10 hours. I don't think. Wisconsin +6. Yeah, I know. It's just erroneous data from CNN. But it is what it is. That's why we've got an aggregate to balance it out. Black turnout lagging in North Carolina. Warning sign for Harris. Yeah, I mean, there was already a report that Harris was diverting ad money from North Carolina to Virginia to try and shore up Virginia. And that would signal that she's going all out for the Rust Belt, if that is true. New Mexico possible. I think it's unlikely, man. I think New Hampshire would be the one. New Hampshire or Virginia would be my guess. Oregon is in play. There was a funny poll from Oregon. I remember that. What was it? Biden +5, Harris +5. But no, it's gonna be. Maybe it'll be 8 or 9. Honestly, Oregon. It's not gonna be crazy, but it'll be a Harris win. I keep getting abortion ads, even though it's your least important issue. Well, I mean that doesn't matter. Are you in a swing state? We've been getting hammered with the abortion stuff with Moreno here in Ohio. How do some channels play streams for weeks at a time? Well, you can play a stream as long as you want, but when it stops, it only captures the last 12 hours. I think that's what it is. So like the first, that's just how YouTube is. Like you're not going to be able to upload a stream that's like 27 hours long. It's just not possible. But you can keep it going continuously. But it's not going to be able to render all of that and actually upload it as a video live stream. Like you guys can go look on my live streams, and there's all the live streams that I've done, and they're all just random times, like an hour 30, an hour 50, whatever. I should do the 13 keys. I think I did a video on that. Yeah, I did do a video on that. You can go look at it. I think I filled it out or something. It's something like, yeah, I did fill it out. CNN's map. Yeah, it's not great. What did I miss? Nothing much. I mean, there's been a lot of polls today. There's no doubt about it, but I don't think things have changed very much since yesterday, or really the past week and a half. Will Trump beat Harris 270 to 268? Well, it's not going to be 270 unless he somehow wins that district in Nebraska. I think that's the only way it'd be Trump winning 270 to 268, just based on how the numbers work right now. Thoughts on Piers Morgan? I really am kind of neutral on him. He kind of seems like he has these debate forums, but then he wants to debate, so it's strange. It's like, are you debating or are you the moderator? It's a little weird to me. You hit 200K. I know. I hit it last night on stream actually. Cavs are looking good. I know the Cavs are 5-0 right now. I think the Cavs will probably be a 2 or a 3 seed if I had to guess. Is CNN map accurate? I would say no. I mean, it's definitely not accurate in terms of the aggregate at all. But that's just their map. That's why we have an aggregate. You're going to get all these polls combined. That's fine. CNN can have more liberal polls. That doesn't mean they're going to be right. I mean, the +6 in Wisconsin, the +5 in Michigan is total crap. Early voting in swing states have women dominating. Well, yeah, it's a double whammy. Women already vote more than men, and they also do early vote more than men as well. So it's men are going to, I would imagine, are going to show up on election day. That's why the right has been crazy, rabid about men showing up on election day and even doing the early vote. Like that's why all these people are doing a code red tweet about it, because they want to make sure men show up. But women do disproportionately vote early, and so that's what's happening. And women already vote more than men as it is. Does Trump's margin with men make up for his deficit with women? That's the hope, obviously, and I think it will. I mean, and there's also been some polls. I know Rasmussen released a poll in Pennsylvania that had Trump only trailing women by 3 points. Now, whether or not that happens or not, it's decent. Very, very concerned about just the election in general. That's an interesting donation. Very, very. Are you concerned about the state of our country or the election or both? You think Ohio State will beat Penn State? Yeah, I do. I think Penn State really well. Listen, if there was any year for Penn State to beat Ohio State, it'd be this year for sure. Because Penn State's at home, they've got a good team. Ohio State has horrible offensive line problems, and Penn State's only 3-point underdogs. But I still think Ohio State will win. Harris could bring about World War III, and women would still vote for her because of abortion. Well, yeah, that's the propaganda, unfortunately. Alan Lichtman said Trump can win the popular vote and still lose. Well, yeah, they've been saying that for about a week now. That thing really they started saying that last week. What it is if Harris wins all of the Rust Belts, she ends up winning 270 to 268. So it's basically the electoral votes are tied. So technically Trump could. It's very, very unlikely though, very unlikely. But that's just how it is nowadays because the swing states are going to be close no matter what. No matter what the margin is, they're going to be very, very close. I mean, if she ends up winning those Rust Belt states, it's going to be so close, so razor thin. Your birthday is coming on election day. That's a tough time to have a birthday, man. Thoughts on Coach Walls playing Madden with AOC? Yeah, I saw that. That was apparently it was 0-0. Neither of them scored. They're playing during the NFL. It's unbelievable. They're just so out of touch with any sort of masculine topic. And they have AOC. Why is AOC playing with him? Why not get another dude? And they're talking about Project 2025 while they're playing Madden. When are you releasing your final predictions? I think I'll do my final thing on Saturday. I would imagine. I mean, it's Saturday or Sunday. There's really no reason to do it Monday, but I mean, because I want to let people be able to view it for a few days before the election happens. Did you see Destiny on Jubilee? He's so disrespectful. Yeah, Destiny's such a he has such a piss poor attitude. He Destiny's really been acting like a little bitch the past like few months. He's just such a little. I think that's the best word to describe him. He's a little bitch. He just treats people terribly. New dirt on Trump about 13-year-old doubt it. Well, remember the rumor about the groping? Is that seriously another rumor that's going around right now, or is that because they've been having a lot of rumors? Trump no less than 306. Yeah, 306 would not be including Nevada. Um, I mean, I think I would include Nevada at this point if you're going to go the Rust Belt to Trump. Nevada looks pretty good for Trump. I like this darker, man. It's better, a little bit better. Mark Cuban is a yeah. Mark Cuban definitely has he has some serious hate for Elon Musk, so he's pigeonholed into being this super lib because he hates Elon Musk. He wants to be Elon's enemy, and it's just this weird thing. And also, same thing with Trump. There's clear animosity against Cuban has significant animosity against Trump and Musk. And so he's projecting that into this election and he's forced to be this huge liberal. That's why he's got the grandma glasses and everything. Concerned about the election, Gallup poll horrible for Trump, Michigan early vote bad news, Atlas good but could be wrong. Well, that Gallup poll is really, you have to factor in all of the Gallup. You can't just look at the final, that's not the final result. That's just a snapshot of 2 weeks. So that Gallup poll was based on polling from October, I think 14th through the 27th. That's not the actual Gallup poll we're going to use. It's not Dems plus whatever it said plus 2. They're going to take a combined aggregate of all of their polls, which is really a Republican plus 1 or plus 2, and that'll be the final. That's not the final. Because that happened to me last time when I freaked out about a Gallup poll that they released in October. It was like in September. and it looked really bad, but it ended up just being the average they took, and it wasn't as bad. Opinion on JD on Joe Rogan. Yeah, I saw some clips. Vance is just amazing on Rogan. Well, just Vance is just he. We knew Vance was going to be really good. He's just very good at massaging Trump's MAGA message in a digestible way for people to where it's not combative. That's what I would say about Vance. Really anxious about the election. Media keeps making mini scandals like protecting women. Thing percent likelihood of Trump will win. Your take? Oh, you want my take on the likelihood of Trump will win? I think 75 to 80% chance. But about these mini scandals, I don't think really anything has hit, man. I feel like nothing's hit against Trump. Remember, they really wanted guys. The main October surprise. Everyone's like, "Oh, the Hinchcliffe joke, whatever." I think the main October surprise was having that general say that Trump told told his general whoever that he wanted his generals to be like Hitler. That was all the media. They tried running with it and it didn't work because it's just rehashing the same talking point they had in 2016 with Hitler. I think that was their October surprise because that was a coordinated effort by all of the media to take something that supposedly the general public didn't know and to use that. But yeah, Vance was amazing on the podcast. Just making sure. All right, there we go. I got to everyone. Is PA bad for Trump because of early voting? Um, well, no, the early voting. The reason they're saying Pennsylvania is bad for Trump is because of the women outnumbering the men. The early voting is not bad in and of itself. The numbers are a lot better than they were in 2020 in terms of their firewall. Thoughts on Trump doing 3 rallies today? I mean, it's draining, man. I mean, listen, this is the time to do it. Senate, House, popular vote, all in play. Yeah, I mean, I would say they're all in play for sure. I mean, I think Republican sweep is at like 45%. It got to 49% at one time, but I think right now in the betting it's at about 45% Republican sweep. But the Senate is going to happen. I think there's a lot of very angry conservatives when you look at the Senate because it really should be at least 54 or 55, but it's probably not going to be. It still might, we don't know. But if you get like 52 or 53, you're dealing with some rhinos. It's going to be hard. You really want to run that number up in the Senate, especially with some of these Rust Belt races. You want to at least at minimum win one of them. But I mean, it's wobbling because it looks like all the Senate candidates are performing worse than Trump, outside of Hogan. And then we saw what's a great what a great idea that was for the Republicans to invest into that. Popular vote is definitely in play for Trump. I mean, even liberals are saying it's in play. They're saying they could win the election while losing the popular vote, but they would only be losing it by like zero point 0.1 or zero point 0.2. And then the House was just dependent on the turnout Trump gets. That's mainly what it is. It's hard to predict, but I would still say it's 50-50 right now in terms of the House. Please give good news. Well, I would say the Atlas Intel is definitely the good news right now. This is a good result from Atlas Intel. I mean, this was the most accurate pollster in 2020, 2022. They were very good. And listen, they've got all you'll take this all 7 states. Some of them the margins are very close, absolutely. But you'll take these numbers for sure from Atlas. Republicans are highly underpolled. They'll show up big on election day. Well, I'm not sure they're underpolled this cycle, but Trump could still. I think Trump's going to still outperform a lot, especially the Rust Belt states in terms of the polling. I think he'll outperform it again, not by the same margins, but he'll still outperform it. Do you think if Trump chose Vivek, he would be way ahead? I don't think it makes much of a difference with the VP. I think Vance has been good enough. I mean, Vivek, you could argue, would be just because of his ideas a little bit more divisive. For someone like Trump, I'm not sure it would work well. Arizona's a lock. Well, it's definitely trending to Trump. There's no doubt about it. Poly market 63.37. No, no, no. I like where poly market is. It's just people see it going down and then they start dooming. Thoughts on Trump winning the University of Maine student mock election? Yeah, I know. They've predicted every winner because that's interesting. They predicted every winner since 2004. 20,000 students. Yeah, no, the main thing is interesting. It's a very lightly polled state. That's two electoral votes. You're talking about Maine at large, because Trump's going to get that one district in Maine. Harris will take the other one. But I saw that poll and I was like, whatever. It's a student poll. Harris is the favorite in Maine. But that poll has been very accurate. Like in 2020, they had the exact margin or very close to it, with Biden beating Trump in Maine at large. And to have Trump up by that much, I mean, it's interesting. I'd like to see some polling out of Maine, but it is two electoral votes. And I mean, dude, that would be pretty crazy if you look at Maine and it ends up deciding it. People are saying Trump groped Ivanka and apparently a few other women, just a last gasp effort to make Trump look bad. Well, haven't they already said that multiple times in the past? I mean, they're rehashing the same stuff. We're wasting our time with this. First time voting, I voted for Trump. Obviously, also voted for Ted Cruz. Dark MAGA really wants to see Trump win the popular vote. Yeah, me too. I do as well. I think that, I mean, it is possible. So you're in Texas. Trump's going to do well in Texas, better than I thought. I thought it'd be a little bit worse in Texas this cycle, but it looks like it's going to be a 7 or an 8 point win. Did you see Jake Paul endorse Trump? Yeah, I saw that. He put out that video on X. Should more states follow the Nebraska Maine model? That's actually an argument they're trying to make, but no, I mean that's no. I would rather all states just be winner take all at this point. But I mean, yes, Republicans would get some electoral votes in California, but they'd lose a bunch in Texas if they went with that model. I mean, it's interesting. It more factors in the popular vote in that scenario, which I mean, honestly, might not matter at this point if Republicans end up winning it. So is Trump really not going to New Hampshire? I heard he was going to New Hampshire. I don't think there's an exact rally set, but I thought he was going to. You're still going to do an iceberg on the election weirdness? Yeah, I mean, that would have to maybe after the election. I'll do that. Um, there's a few things to look at, maybe. 8 years ago today, Hillary tweeted that computer scientists had uncovered Trump Russia link. That's crazy. Halloween in 2016. Remember that? Computer scientists have apparently uncovered a covert server linking the Trump organization to a Russia based bank. And by the way, there was an interview with Hillary, and they asked Hillary, what does Kamala need to do to win? Because obviously Hillary lost, reflecting on her loss, and Hillary blamed Comey. And I just thought it was so hilarious because she wanted to blame Russia so bad, but the public opinion is that she's just Russia. I mean, they did not affect the 2016 election. Now that is the public opinion. So she can't say that. So she brings up the Comey stuff that that happened like really late in October. I just thought it was funny. She wants to say Russia so bad, but she's like, well, I hope Hillary doesn't, or I hope Kamala doesn't have James Comey looking, and she has to blame something else for her loss, and it can't be Russia. It's funny how the Russia thing happened. Provided Trump wins North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona, all else he really needs is either Pennsylvania or Wisconsin, and he'll win between Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. Which one do you think he'll win? I think he'll win both of them, but I would say Pennsylvania is going to be easier to win. But that's just me basing it off of polls and recently on how the Rust Belt's voted. But it's close between those two states. I mean, I think he's going to win Wisconsin as well. You've got this guy saying Putin wants Trump to win. There's no serious debate about that. Does Putin want America to be weak or strong? There's no serious debate about that either. So, I mean, this guy he's insinuating that if, I guess, foreign nations want Trump to win because Trump's more America first policy is going to make the country somehow weaker, which is obviously false. If you're a foreign nation, there's no way. I mean, now maybe Putin's a different story, but just in general, there's a reason all of NATO and those European countries want Harris to win, because it's not, she doesn't have this America first policy. It's more following the liberal white guilt where we owe everybody else and we have to give. It's like the money to Ukraine. Um, there's no way, if you're a foreign nation, you would want the Republican to win, because you want the leader that has, the least America first agenda to win, because you want that money spread around and you don't want the United States growing to be even more powerful. I'm sure China wants Harris to win. You're a good man. I appreciate that, man. I'm fearful the establishment will not let Trump win. Well, I mean, if you think about that, they did in 2016, and there was a lot worse polling for Trump. That's what I would say on that. Putin wants Harris to win bigly. I think it's complicated. I think that's complicated. I mean, listen, if you're Putin, there is some reason to thinking, well, if Trump gets in, there's going to be some change with NATO. And I think that's really what it comes down to with these negotiations. By the way, Ukraine has barely any Russian land. I finally got around to looking at how much land that Ukraine actually has into Russia. I mean, unless it's a very strategic point, they've got barely any. So I don't even know how they're going to be able to use that as leverage in a negotiation with Putin. Putin's going to want something with NATO in terms of his negotiations with Trump. There's going to have to be something with NATO, guaranteed. And I don't know how much land he'll want, but we'll have to see what happens with those negotiations. Have you seen the. Wait, what is that? Election predictor Halloween masks sold numbers between Harris and Trump. Normally Trump always wins those. That's like the cookie polls. Trump normally always wins those. Trump makes China, Russia nervous. Well, I think in general it would be, and any Republican candidate would make those countries more nervous than a Democrat candidate, just based off of their current viewpoints of the United States. Um, but it's very complicated. I mean, I think in Trump in general, with the tariffs, especially on China, they're not too fond of him. And Trump's made, listen, this is the typical thing. When you look at Republicans, the number one enemy is China. Democrats, the number one enemy is Russia. There's a clear split. Pennsylvania, how much ground do you think Republicans will make up on election day? They keep saying Trump is only get 4 out of 4 votes in early voting. Oh, they're going to make up obviously a ton of ground. There's been polls where they'll poll people that haven't voted yet, and Trump wins them. But the people that have already voted have voted like Kamala plus 19. But the people that haven't voted yet, Trump wins them hugely. I think worrying about early voting it's a waste of time to worry about that one way or another. Why do Dems view Iran so favorably? Why do they view Palestine so favorably with how they treat women? Does that make sense to anyone? Like, seriously, after all of the feminism bullshit that we've had to deal with in this country, they simp for that country? Really? Seriously? That's what's so shocking to me. But to be honest with Iran, to be fair, I mean, Kamala Harris did say, and I'm not even kidding you, Kamala Harris said Iran was our biggest adversary. That should be a disqualifier right there. You don't know what you're talking about, honey. Iran is our biggest adversary. Now, listen, I think the Middle East is unpredictable and it's a mess, but there's no way you can answer that question like that if you're running for president. That's just such a lack of understanding. Thoughts on ABC posting like, dude, I think that's a nothing burger. I think that's just, there's no way that they would be in a coordinated, like, oh, we've got the results, and it's I understand the results showed that Trump was losing. I think it's just a test, man. I really do. Lichtman has Harris winning 302 to 236. Well, I mean, we knew he was going to have her winning, but you are right. I think he was releasing his final predictions tonight. Middle East is a total mess. But it's like a saw trap. You try and pull the United States out of the Middle East, it skins your hand. It's just worse. It destabilizes it even more, and it plunges it into war. But I don't know enough about the Middle East to really give a adequate strategical answer on what the United States should do, other than to blindly leave the Middle East as fast as possible. But again, that might actually make it worse. Trump has sued CBS for $10 billion. Well, no, Trump was talking about CBS, and it is crazy what CBS did with that 60 Minutes, man. I cannot believe they did that. How do you have that is their biggest interview of the year because Trump never went on 60 Minutes. Liberals were not happy about that, but you're the biggest interview of the year and you manipulate it to make one of the candidates look better and you're supposed to be unbiased. What are we doing? Come on. I mean, you blatantly manipulate an answer to where you take a different answer of hers and put it into the one, and it's like next level. It's like, come on. Race is really 50-50. I think that's a media talking point. Trump is definitely leading. I mean, listen, the race is close, but it's not 50-50 when you look at all the polls. I mean, listen, I even looked at 538 and they've updated and they've got Trump at 53 now. Now, I think this will probably go down. I wonder what polls they've put in. Do they put in the one? Oh, they do look at JL Partners, the Daily Mail polls. Boy, they got to be pissed off about that because liberals have loved 538 and they had that partners. I don't even think Real Clear Politics has JL Partners in their aggregate because that was a Trump plus three, and I was waiting to see if Real Clear was going to add that. They didn't add it. I was like, damn it. But apparently, 538 does. Yeah, I don't think they have it. Trump went down to plus point 0.3 because of that Harris X poll. We'll see if Fox News releases another poll. Will this be an election night, election week, or election month? I think we're all ready for it to be an election night. Let's end this charade where we take 3 weeks to decide a winner here in the United States. We're gonna do it in a night. Come on. Do you think Republicans should be worried about Harris surging in Michigan on Polymarket? I mean, what is Trump down to 46 on Polymarket? I don't think it's that big of a deal, honestly. Listen, the Polymarket is just a reflection of the polls right now. Harris got positive polls in Michigan, so it's going to go down. But it's just whether or not you believe those polls, and that was mainly a CNN poll that had Harris up by like 5 or 6. Jake Paul endorsement is big. I highly doubt it, honestly, man. I mean, Jake Paul, it's I don't think it's going to change. I thought the Jake Paul video was well done and well edited and stuff, and I was surprised that he uploaded an 18-minute video like that. They didn't include Trafalgar. They do not. Real Clear includes Trafalgar. 538 does not. And I think 538 took Rasmussen out. They claimed that Rasmussen was talking to the Trump campaign, so they removed them from their aggregate. I think it was something like that. Would you go on Jubilee? Where is Jubilee located? Is it in LA? That's a long trip. I mean, listen, with the views that they get, that is good. That is good exposure. I like waiting a month to know the winner, right? I knew, you know what? That would be great for my channel. Oh my God, it'd be amazing. I could give you guys updates and the views would be great. But honestly, I wouldn't even want that. I wouldn't even want it. I'd rather just have lower viewership and just have the election decided. She took the lead when she was down by a lot in Wisconsin and Polymarket. Yeah, I think she's still losing in Wisconsin by a few in Polymarket. Jubilee only gives $25. They got to pay for everyone's travel, man. They give you $25 to live in LA. The only Rust Belt state, but dude, they've been putting out so much content. They've been milking the hell out of the election. Good for them. I mean, But seriously, to see it, so they them produce that much content is pretty crazy. I mean, they like upload daily, and those videos are obviously not easy to make. There's a lot that goes into them. The only Rust Belt state I think she wins is Michigan. Overall, I think Trump wins big, but it's not a guarantee sweep of those Midwest states. No, I agree with you. I think we all think, well, based off of history, the Rust Belt goes one way, but these are very slim margins. It's like there is a potential scenario where Trump wins Wisconsin by point 0.6 but loses Michigan by point 0.5. I mean, we're talking about very small margins. This is not something to where the states swing one way by 5 points and then the other way by 5 points. They're so close to where, I mean, Wisconsin and Michigan might vote basically together. I mean, they might be within a point, but one might go one way, the other might go the other. Predictions for the Texas Senate race. I would say Cruz by about 4.5. I think Cruz is really held off. Allred got one really good poll that liberals kept talking about, and it's been nothing but Cruz since. Cruz is polling really well in Texas. So is Trump. He's polling better than I thought he was going to. Do you think Zuckerberg is secretly MAGA? I mean, I think he's more libertarian now. I don't know about MAGA. I know he said it was, Trump surviving that and doing the fight thing after getting shot in Butler was badass. I know he said that. He's more libertarian now. He's really not. It doesn't seem like he's very liberal anymore. Could New Hampshire decide the election? Well, I mean, it is possible, but we don't want that to happen. Trust me, because that would be Harris winning probably winning all of the Rust Belt. I mean, maybe the Sun Belt. It just seems like it's not going to happen. What do I do once the election ends? Disappear? I'm actually going to a cryo chamber, and I wake up. Wait, when is my wake up time after the cryo chamber? I think it's the first debate night in 2027 with the Republican primaries. I get woken up. So that's like August 2027, I think. Thoughts on Tony Hinchcliffe bid at MSG? Do you think that could have been a setup to try and ruin the MSG? But no, that wasn't a setup. It was just a joke that I didn't think the joke was really all that bad. But the Hinchcliffe stuff is irrelevant now. And listen, this is the crazy thing with liberals. Now you've got Mark Cuban calling all of the women surrounding Trump dumb and just weak people. You've got Biden calling Trump supporters garbage, and it's very clear they all think that Trump supporters are garbage. But then they sit there and they say, oh, but Trump calls everyone horrible names and stuff like that. They just clutched their pearls over a joke that was made by a comedian. It wasn't even made by Trump. Which is worse, Tony Hinchcliffe making a joke about a group of people that was meant to be funny because they have a problem with waste on their island, or Biden just calling an entire, millions and millions of people, Trump supporters, all garbage. And then on top of that, they lie and they make it worse. There's no accountability. They say, oh, you just misinterpreted what I said. He said that all Trump supporters were garbage, and they don't take any accountability for it. Because these people, they got the liberal media, they think they can just get away with it. Whatever they do, nothing is wrong. Trump is big, bad, and evil. He says things way worse. If Trump says so many things that are horrible, then why do they take this Tony Hinchcliffe thing and blow it up? Why not just use Trump's clips? They're just so inconsistent with what they say. Since 1992, Rust Belt has all voted the same. I know, but you have to understand, we're talking about 0.3, 0.4 difference. There's a chance that one state could be on one side, the other state could be on the other, and they're voting very similar, but it's a small difference. There's a very slim margin in terms of those states. Vance Gabbard 2028. I think it's too early for that, but Gabbard is definitely a VP potential with how likable she is and just with what she covers in terms of being a female. Definitely she would be VP material. Thank you for the 90. I didn't even know people could donate 99 cents. That's interesting. I thought it was $1.99. But I appreciate it. Harris will lose Virginia. It's possible. I mean, I would say it's unlikely, but it's possible. Just depends. Trump is having a big rally in Virginia on Saturday. We'll see. Cuban versus DeSantis. That's hilarious, man. Yeah, I think Cuban will run. I don't think he'll get very far, honestly. There'll be some liberals that treat him as like the the better billionaire, like the anti-Trump or something. There'll be some that do that, but I don't think he'd make it out of a the liberal primaries. You'd prefer Sarah Huckabee Sanders over Tulsi? No, you'd want Tulsi over her. Likelihood of mass riots following the election. I mean, it's dude. It depends what happens with the election. I really can't answer that. What I'll tell you is, I don't think. Well, I have no clue, honestly. I would say it's unlikely there'll be mass riots. Seems like she's gaining momentum. I mean, she got a few good polls here and there. I don't. I mean, I think that the Atlas Intel numbers are good enough for Trump to win. You know, certainly, I guess she's moved up a few points in terms of the betting. I think that was more so a correction, but I don't know. It's nothing that really causes me any crazy concern. Do you think the Nikki Haley recent comments about women was meant to sabotage Trump? I don't even know what the comments were, but I would imagine it's probably she just misspoke or whatever. I don't even think people really care about Nikki Haley saying something like that, and she's trying to sab. I don't know, man. I mean, there's a lot of people that think Biden was trying to sabotage Harris, and I was just like, I just think he's old and just. I mean, I think that's what they think. They think that Trump supporters are garbage, but you can't say it out loud, and they did say it out loud, and then there's no accountability. They don't even apologize, so that they compound it. They're like, oh, you just misheard what I said. It's like, dude, this is fucking ridiculous. Just, I mean, it is what it is. You think they're all garbage. That's your opinion. You're not supposed to say it, but you're senile and you can barely talk, so you let it slip. Last ditch media, Dem push, yeah. I mean, you expect it. It's whatever. Those CNN polls. Do I think there's any shenanigans going on in Pennsylvania? Listen, I've heard. I'm not going to say anything about like. I've heard there's some things that are happening in Pennsylvania, but it's to me, it's nothing that's been confirmed. I mean, I think Republicans are really burned by the entire process. This is a major issue that the country is going to have to deal with. There's so many Republicans that have zero faith in the entire process, and whether you think that's fair or not, that's just the reality of it. And liberals certainly didn't help when basically at every turn they make it harder for Republicans trying to pass voter ID legislation. So there's going to have to be something that happens in this country because there's just no trust with a lot of Republicans and how these votes are counted. Jack, I appreciate it, man. Do you think we will win Pennsylvania? Yeah, I do. I think Trump will win Pennsylvania, and I think these polls are. I'm very happy with these polls in Pennsylvania. I have not. We have not really seen a bad Pennsylvania poll. The ties are whatever. These are all within the margin, but we're not seeing the same thing that we're seeing in Michigan. I mean, even the CNN poll, which was really left in looking at both Wisconsin and Michigan, they have Pennsylvania as a tie, and obviously, there's no way that those margins are going to be correct. It's just not going to happen. There's not going to be that much variance between Rust Belt states where Pennsylvania is a tie and then Trump loses Wisconsin and Michigan by 5 and 6. It's just not going to happen. What will you do after the election? Go to midterms and no, man. I probably I would just rather just report on news rather than do that to talk about midterms. No, but dude, this is what I wanted to do. I want to do a video. I think this is a pretty good idea. After the election, 20 Republican candidates or 20 Republicans that can run for president in 2028, and then another video, 20 Democrats that can run for president in 2028. So I'll just have like that's the top contenders, and then I'll look at possibly like the betting or an up and coming senator, and I'll try and find a list of 20 people that I think could run. I mean, we all know there's like 10 or 11 that are pretty obvious that might decide to run. Obviously, the election is going to decide a lot. If Harris wins, there's she's going to be the incumbent. If Trump wins, we're going to need two new candidates. One of them's likely going to be Vance, though. It's now illegal to ask for ID in California. It's mind blowing some of these policies that they have. It needs to be changed everywhere. And you would think liberals would want to change it to so Republicans have more trust in the voting process, but they just don't do it. So it's like, why won't you do it? That's ridiculous. ABC just announced Kamala wins. What, because of that the graphics at the bottom of the screen, they had her winning. They also had McCormick losing by like 9 points. Did you see that? It wasn't just Trump losing by 5. I mean, Trump losing by 5 in Pennsylvania, seriously? Come on. I mean, that was kind of funny. Ted Cruz for GOP nominee in 2020. No, it's not going to happen with Ted. Ted had a chance in 2016, but he was never beating Trump. What's up, Sam? Please explain Nixon and Reagan landslide wins. Well, we're just way too partisan to have something like that, especially with Trump. It's just you love him or you hate him, and it's so divided. You're not going to see a crazy landslide one way or another. Really, with anyone. I mean, Obama '08 was the closest. Your liberal friend said Atlas Intel is no longer accurate because they sold off someone else in 2020. Just wanted you to know any truth. Well, what do you mean by that? They sold off to someone else, but they were also very accurate in the 2022 midterms. So you're saying the company they were sold to someone in 2020 after the election, and that's why they're not accurate. Well, then why were they very accurate in the midterms? I think that's just liberal cope. I mean, dude, the liberals with the trying to discredit these pollsters, that it's crazy. I mean, they even try and discredit like people that are not even crazy conservatives like Nate Silver. They're like going after Nate Silver because his model has Trump at like 54. His model is actually right on line with 538 right now. Silver's is. He's got it at 54. 538 has it at 53. The more things change, the more they stay the same, I guess. But I think his model is a little bit more conservative, like conservative leaning than 538 in terms of the polls that they choose to put into their model. What's a modern day landslide? I don't know, man. People always say, is it going to be a landslide for Trump? I don't know. I've always think a landslide should be like 400 electoral votes or like 370, which is obviously not going to happen in this election. But I guess you could argue, well, if Trump wins every swing state, it's a landslide. But I've thought a landslide needs to be like upper echelon, 370 electoral votes, 400, something like that. Polls always underestimate Trump. Remember that? Well, certainly they've underestimated him in 2016 and 2020. Libs will argue that there's an overcorrection and they'll talk about 2022. But you're right. They have underestimated Trump. Wisconsin's been terrible. Pennsylvania's underestimated him. Michigan's underestimated him. You know, it's pretty much every. I mean, there's a few states like Georgia's polls were pretty accurate in 2020, and I'm fine with where the Georgia polls are right now. Trump's winning by 2.5. Carter 2028, he's back and older than ever. Well, it's listen. I mean, he voted. He did vote. You're right. He voted in 2024. Remember his birthday? Does Trump still have a lead on all the Rust Belts in terms of the real clear average? That would be no. He leads in Pennsylvania. He's barely down in both Michigan and Wisconsin, mainly because of a CNN dump that was pretty significant. Well, this was not from CNN. This is mainly Quinnipiac. Yeah. Once these polls get knocked off, I could see Trump taking the lead back. And listen, this is like it's predictable. The betting will swing back in Trump's direction. When will DG officially endorse Trump? What do you mean officially endorse him? You want me to do a video where I endorse Trump and tell people why they should? I mean, it's just an echo chamber. I don't think anyone would be influenced by it. I could do a video. I mean, I know lawfare is not the way the country wants to go, but do you feel that some of these Democrats need to be held accountable after Trump wins? Yeah, well, I think Trump's totally snapped. I mean, they did try and imprison him. Um, we saw how they handled the assassination attempts and the lack of security. And I think there's going to be a difference. I mean, listen, and I think it's very commendable what Trump did in 2016, where it did seem like he just said, we're not going to go after Hillary because I want to actually run the country. And to me, that's honestly what happened. I mean, you could put her in legal hell and all this, and now liberals are trying to rewrite history and say, oh, it was just the emails and she's innocent. Yeah, I mean, she spent thousands of dollars like acid washing her motherboard but yeah, she's real innocent. But listen, I think a lot of people there's going to be some big problems because listen, Trump has faced so much. They're the ones that made this political. Elvin Bragg was the one that said, wink, wink, elect me so I can go get Trump. That's what happened. And then he elevated misdemeanor charges. I mean, this is political prisoner stuff 101. So obviously Trump's not going to be happy with it. It's completely different than Trump going in 2016. Oh my god. You just go on these talking sprees and then can you see me? Yeah, I can see you, man. Dude, I've been replying to friggin' super chats. So it's hard to get to you guys. But I do try and get to you guys. CNN final 2020 poll had Biden plus 12. They were all horrible in 2020, to be fair. They were all terrible. Look at ABC in 2020. And then they treat ABC like it's gospel now. It's like, do you think Biden crimes? Yeah, but well, I don't know. Biden might be so old at this point. I don't know. I know Trump was talking about possibly pardoning Hunter Biden just to move on from that, which could be kind of a funny thing to do, honestly. But who knows, man? I mean, but Biden very obviously used his influence and his leverage in illegal ways, and everybody knows it. But I guess Trump's the only felon. But that's just how the U.S. government works. Trump is not on the inside, so it's very hard for him. And they'll just, I mean, Chuck Schumer said it. They were going to go after him as no matter what. Most likely unexpected flip state. Well, it's hard to, you got to define unexpected because now it's like we don't expect it, but we're like looking at a New Hampshire, we're looking at a Virginia. It would be New Hampshire or Virginia, but I think people kind of expect it to be potentially polls don't matter this late. I have heard that, it's getting a little bit too late for the polls to matter with all the early vote that's already in and stuff. Saw a clip where Alan Lichtman snapped at an interviewer who questioned his accuracy. If that isn't desperation, IDK, what is? Yeah, we're all just ready to get to the election with we want to get to the election. Didn't that one guy say he would enact an insurrection thing if Trump wins? And yeah, I think that's all bullshit. You're talking about Raskin. He's a clown, but it wouldn't matter anyways. They would look dumb if they did something. They won't. I can pretty much guarantee you they wouldn't do anything. Um, the only like they're gonna have to prove to me that they would actually do something in terms of challenging it. Because imagine they challenge it, throw a big fit, and then nothing happens. I mean, they just look like hypocrites. So I mean, they can do something, but it would imagine they have their own January 6th. They wouldn't do that though. Thoughts on Nevada? Nevada's looking better for Trump, surprisingly. Now, Nevada's still a very close state. There's no doubt about it. But there was a very good Atlas Intel poll. It pushes Trump to about +1. And these are a lot of good polls. I mean, it's a very close state, but these are very good polls. What do you have? 2 points to make up from 2020. What was the margin? I think it was 2 points. And look at how accurate this was. So, they had Biden plus 2.4. He won by 2.4. Right now, Trump's sitting plus zero point 0.9. You'll take a 0.9 win in Nevada, even though it's lower electoral votes. Do you truly believe Trump will win? Yeah, I do. There's just no way I can see Harris and especially Walz having any type of power like that. I would be floored and shocked. I mean, look at Trump and Vance compared to Harris and Walz. My God. They all yell. Oh man. The Mike Pence roll. Yes, the Mike Pence roll. Is there a possibility for a Harris landslide? I don't think either candidate's going to get a landslide. I mean, what is your definition of a landslide? Like winning all the swing states? There's an extremely low percent. There's no chance I think there's a 0% chance she wins every swing state based on the numbers in Arizona and Georgia. I think it's basically zero. And plus, I don't even view a landslide as winning all the swing states. I think a landslide's like 370 electoral votes. I was telling the chat. We have different opinions on what a landslide is, that's fine. But it's like, a landslide is like crazy. Can we just get together and play some Black Ops 1 team deathmatch? Order some pizza, drink some. What even is that drink? Purple Flurp? And forget about the. Listen, I'd play Black Ops 1 Zombies, is what I'd play, Sonny. I love Black Ops 1 Zombies. They gotta Did they remaster it? I think they did. I don't know. Black Ops 1 team deathmatch. Dude, I had like a 1.45 KD or something in my day. I mean, it's a solid KD. It's not MLG level, but it's a solid KD. I mean, what can I say? How might the left react if Trump wins the popular vote, but Harris leads the electoral college with recounts affecting the final result? Well, I think the left is they want to retain power any way possible. If Trump wins the popular vote but is losing in the electoral college, they don't give a shit. I mean, they're gonna sit. They've sat there and said, well, we need to abolish the electoral college, and if they win like that, it's they just want power. That's it. It doesn't matter. Any means necessary. And this is remarkable that Republicans actually could win the popular vote based off of the influx of immigrants. I mean, you're basically playing at an uneven field. You're importing voters. That's what they do. They import voters. They become legal and they vote liberal like 70 to 75% of the time. Why is Kamala Democratic? Oh, you're talking about them installing her because she's technically the VP. I mean, dude. Well, dude, this is what the one lady on CNN was saying. There's really no rules in terms of a party picking a nominee, so they really didn't need to vote or any of that. So that's technically why. I mean, obviously, it's very hypocritical. But the only thing I can say for them, like the saving grace is that she is the VP. So it's like it's technically still kind of a process rather than them just having their elites pick the candidate at the DNC, which is what a lot of them wanted, which would have been even way worse because they just handpick someone and it's like there's no democracy. It's the elites purely picking someone. They kind of have this guise where it's like, well, this is the process. She's the VP. The president can't serve anymore. And we know the president, whether or not you think he can serve, the reason they got him out was because he was going to lose. And they were all gaslighting us that the entire time. I'm not going to rehash the whole Biden thing, but I mean, we had to sit here for 3 years or even just the past year where they got so bad they started saying it's deep fakes. Biden couldn't even walk around. It's pathetic. Do you think Harris will give Trump the election on either out a problem? Do you think Harris will get? I don't think Harris. If Harris loses, I don't think there's going to be a big problem with her conceding the election. Do you think? What do you think? Sorry, I just skipped on me. What do you think of the more cautious conservatives who think it's still 50-50 or even Nate Silver's? Well, Nate Silver, I think, has it 54-46 Trump. Um, so Nate Silver technically has Trump in the lead. But yeah, I mean, listen, people are not going to trust the polls. It's understandable. The election, it is close when you look at this, especially the Rust Belt states, it's close. If Trump was up by like 4 or 5, and you're saying it's 50-50, that's one thing. But you're up by like half a point, you're down by 0.3. I can understand conservatives saying that, being nervous, and there are a lot of conservatives that get nervous when there's a drop in poly market by 2 or 3 points, or a single bad poll comes out. That's just what's going to happen. People are on edge right now. Voter turnout isn't looking great for men. Well, men normally have a higher propensity to vote on election day rather than the early vote. Women more so do the early vote. That's what I'll say about that. Please give me some good news. Well, that's what I would say is you're going to get a big turnout for men on election day. There's going to be a high male turnout on election day. How can younger men bitch and complain about how we're treated and not go vote? It's infuriating. I mean, I think technically, from what I was seeing, the actual splits, and I was surprised by this because I thought it was women vote more than men across the board. Technically, white men do vote more than white women, but down when you look at the minorities, the men are really lagging behind the women, and that's where it gets made up. So because that surprised me, I thought white women voted more than white men, but apparently that's not the case. It's like three points more for white men. But no, I understand what you're saying. People they bitch about it and they don't vote. It's unfortunate. Thoughts on Kamala's controversial interview tonight with Casco guy? Is that a troll? Can somebody confirm that happened? Big AJ or whatever? Big AJ. Did the Costco guys interview Kamala Harris? Is she that desperate? What do you think of Taylor Swift's endorsement of Harris? It was very weak. I mean, nobody, it was barely even covered. Vance Rogan interview was great. Yeah, I mean, Vance is a great talker. We knew it would go well. It was such an obvious choice for the Trump campaign to do that. I mean, you want Trump to go in there first because you don't want him to be overshadowed or anything like that, but then bring Vance in a few days later. You know, it's just great publicity. The Rizzler, yeah, maybe the Rizzler interviewed her. I think that would be good. The Rizzler, maybe the Rizzler can have a JRE podcast with Kamala. That might make a lot more sense. That would be good for her. No one talks about how Trump had 4 years to learn to be a president. Now with four more, he will be. Sorry, the chat keeps going. Now with four more, he will be even better. Trump will get 130 million votes. I think that's a lot. That's not going to happen. He's not going to get 130. But no, I mean, I do talk about that. I say, listen, Trump's had no experience in a leadership position in DC. So, I mean, and Trump says that. He admits that it was rough and he had to rely on people for suggestions on who to put up for positions, and it didn't go very well. Some of the choices were not good, and he admits it. So he's reflecting on it, and he understands that he needs to do a better job. But just like anything, the more you do it, the better you get at it. So Trump's second term should be a lot better with getting the ball rolling. He also has had this 4 year break. He'll be energized and ready to go. Also, did you see CNN election prediction? It was garbage. Trump losing Arizona but winning Nevada. I know. But dude, you have to understand with predictions like that, if you look at that final prediction, it had Trump losing Arizona by a point, winning Nevada by a point. It's like it's so close. The CNN polls that I think were way off were the Wisconsin and Michigan polls. I think those polls were way off. But that CNN can release their predictions. I guess it doesn't. That's why they go into an aggregate. Do you think Shapiro wants Trump to win? Josh Shapiro? I mean, maybe if he wants to run in 2028. How do you feel about Bernie Moreno's chances? I think he'll end up eking out a victory by about 2 points. Moreno. Yeah. I wonder if Ohio will be a little bit closer than expected. I think it'll be a 9.5 point victory, but I might have to. I don't know. I mean, you don't want to put too much attention into the polls because they really haven't been polling Ohio. 6.9. Even Trafalgar with a +6. You want that to be a little bit higher than +6 to make sure Moreno wins. Bowling Green partners with YouGov. Hilarious. I heard Trump is doing great early numbers. Is it true? I wouldn't pay much attention either way. The funny thing is, Dan, is I've got like 30 people that are dooming to me about the early vote on this in the chat, and so now you come out and say it's great, but that's just the early vote. That is what it is. Some people think it's the early vote. Men are they're gonna significantly vote more on election day. But I mean, in terms of the Pennsylvania, the firewall has been brought down by about 700K votes. It's very good. Thoughts on Vance Ramaswamy in 2028? I mean, yeah. Listen, I don't want to. Who knows? Who knows where Ramaswamy is at that point? I don't know. It's hard for me to predict a 2028 right now, and I'm not sure they would want to go with a Ramaswamy over someone like Gabbard. But I mean, this is speculation. We need Lake in Arizona. I know, man. The Senate is so annoying, dude. Arizona should be a Republican lean, man. It really should be. Trump's gonna win Arizona by 4 points. I mean, you've got an Atlas +1, you've got a tie. Go on 538. There was a Trump +6 poll. Yeah, they include some pretty wonky pollsters. Well, that was an Echelon Insight poll, if I remember correctly. So they've included that, and that probably hurt Harris significantly. They can't be happy about that because liberals always reference 538. They've got to be pissed off that that poll was included because I don't even think it's included in Real Clear. Thoughts on Trump and the garbage truck? I mean, I thought it was a very funny spur of the moment thing that could maybe help some lower propensity voters. Just a quick 1 day thing, and then you wear the vest during. I mean, listen, that's what Biden thinks of Trump supporters. That's what they all think, and then they just lie about it and say, "No, that's not what I meant." Can you please show me New York's chance of a Trump win? Could there be a way? No, there's not a way. Trump's not going to win New York. There's a 0% chance. I don't want to just get your hopes up and stuff. New York, we would hope would be maybe under 12 points. Who knows? There's not a ton of polling out of there. Yeah, see, I think these polls are real high when you compare because there were some lower polls. Well, that was Siena, but even their recent poll had Harris +19. I just can't see that happening with the Republican. What happened in the midterms in 2022. I really think they're going to slash into that. And also, if you've got the general popular vote, going to Trump, you're going to have New York come down significantly. But it's not going to be, there's no way Trump's going to win New York. It's just not going to happen. In honor of Gingers, who's Cartman voting for? I think he'd be voting for Trump. Does Trump take Lake over the finish line? I think it's possible. The variance of those polls and really all well, if you've noticed the Senate races in relation to the Harris Trump polls, they've gotten very close. They are almost identical at this point. But in Arizona and Nevada, they're still off. I think Sam Brown's going to be a lot closer. I think Lake will be a lot closer. If Trump wins by 4.5, I think Lake wins probably by a half point, honestly. I can't see, because that's 4 points. You're still underperforming Trump by. That's if Trump wins by 4.5 in Arizona. Should we be worried about North Carolina? I think North Carolina looks really good for Trump, or not as good as Georgia or Arizona, but I would say North Carolina. The Sun Belt states look very good. These are very, very good polls. A CNN +1. Atlas just did their new poll with Trump +4. Trump won North Carolina 2016, 2020. These are very nice polls for Trump. And I also think in 2020 it was, let's see how accurate it was in 2020. It really wasn't. I mean, it was an underestimated Trump by about a point in 2020. If they do it again, Trump wins by like 2.5. I'm not saying they're going to, but it's possible. Why do you think ABC had Kamala winning Pennsylvania with 100% of the vote in? Seems very odd. Well, that was it's a test. They test their graphics, guys. It's not anything other than a test. Do you watch election time? He was close in his 2020 predictions, and he thinks Trump wins. I think I've seen a few of election times videos, but yeah, I mean, I know a lot of his predictions have had Trump winning. Listen, it's I think a lot of us are going to have Trump winning probably at around 312 if I had to guess. It's very hard to get off of that 312 number. I mean, because you do split the Rust Belt up, it's hard to do that. But I know a lot of people are like, well, 287 maybe, 306, but Nevada looks good. How could Kamala be so close in swing states when places like New York she's going to possibly win by 20, by less than 20, and terrible in other blue states? Well, because there's different shifts in different states. Not every state is the same. Like New York, we saw in 2022, it was going to shift significantly to the right. You didn't see that in Pennsylvania. If we would have seen that in Pennsylvania, Trump would probably be up by like 5 or 6 points right now in Pennsylvania. It's just based off of the states shifting, and also there's a higher chance of a New York shifting because it is, a Democrat lean state by like 25 points. It's a lot easier to shift that state down to like a 17-point lead than it is to get Pennsylvania into the Republican column. But I think the Rust Belt is kind of hard to. It's a hard nut to crack because you've got Ohio, which just has so Republican. I mean, just randomly the past three cycles, but the other three are still swing states. To me, it feels like the Midwest, the Rust Belt, working class, that those are Republican states, man. At least Wisconsin and Pennsylvania should be. You know, I can understand with Philadelphia, it's going to bring up the Democrats, but at least Wisconsin should be a Republican state, kind of like Ohio. And I mean, that really changes the electoral math if you're able to try and do something like that. Like, take another Rust Belt state and make it like Ohio, or make in Florida. I mean, both of those states, the Republicans have been able to switch from swing states to heavy odds they're going to win them. And obviously, they're not even being contested at this point. You know, liberals are admitting they're going to lose Ohio and Florida, but you've got to try and do that. To It's going to be hard to do it to Pennsylvania, but like Wisconsin, JD Vance could do better than Trump when it comes to the independent vote. What do you mean, JD Vance is a candidate? I mean, it's impossible to say. Vance definitely is able to massage the Trump message in a better way, you know, less threatening way. Let's just say that, more presidential than Trump is, and that's why people like Trump, because he's not presidential. But that's a subset of people, and there's another group. And you're right, the more independent people would like the Vance verbiage more than the Trump verbiage. Kamala will win. Potness, Potness, commander in chief. Commander in chief. Well, we'll have to see what happens when it comes to the cheating and all that. I know there's a lot of accusations right now. Once the election ends, I'm gonna edge to your vids. That makes total sense. Political content, it's all the rage, man. Looking at polls is definitely, it's a turn on. I've heard, man. He's plus 10 with Hispanics. He's taking New Mexico. I mean, who knows if that's the final result, if he actually is plus 10 with Hispanics. And I saw the rally in New Mexico. He's certainly trying to make a play for it. Will PA be called on election night? I mean, they're already prepping us saying no, it won't. So it's hard to say it will. I think we'll know with PA whether or not Trump wins it on election night. Yes, but I don't know, man. I'm just hoping, honestly. Prediction for House majority. Republicans. Dude, it just depends on the on the popular vote with Trump. I think with House majority, it's 50-50 House majority, and I'm not really going to look at that many races. It's too hard to predict something like that. But the only thing I can look at is betting, and it's 50-50 right now. And Trump's brought it back, or the Republicans have brought it back. The House, they had only like a 30% chance to win it. Now it's up to 50. New Jersey, yeah, New Jersey will be slightly closer. I don't know how much closer though. I mean, if Trump can get New Jersey under 10, that would be pretty funny. Rooting for Trump from UK. P.S. I'm middle class. Well, listen, you're born in a middle class family. What's going on with the UK, man? I heard there's a mess going on there with the Labour Party, and they got like a 20% approval rating. But I appreciate it, man. Rooting for Trump. Yes, the Euros. Do you feel confidence in Tim Walz? I mean, I think Tim. Imagine Tim Walz becoming president. You know, oh my God. I mean, obviously, I don't think it would happen. Something would have to happen to Harris, but it's just like Jesus, man. Goodness. Confirm or deny? No, I deny that. I mean, the super chats in general, YouTube takes so much from them. I think the chat is, guys. The chat seems to lose it a little bit once you get like an hour in. The chat starts to kind of tail off a little bit, which is understandable. It's the internet, but we get some questionable content or comments in here with these people. But again, it's the internet. You know, you got to be ready for it. They about to win regardless, rigged 10 times over. I'm not sure what that means. Can you explain how Trump pulled off surprising win in 2016? Well, I think a lot of it was arrogance by by Hillary and her campaign. I mean, 2016 was literally was such like a David Goliath type. They thought there's no way someone like Trump with no experience could win. They just thought that it's impossible. That was it, man. And obviously, I mean, they ran a campaign. They spent a bunch of money attacking Trump, but in their hearts, they thought there's no way. Are you worried? I'm 100% certain in Trump will win yourself. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, listen, I think on election night when the results start coming in, that's when it's going to get real. Maybe even before then, it'll be like, all right, let's, because you start with a blank map and it's like, all right, we still have to make this goes make sure this goes proper, make sure this goes correct for us here because the results are going to come in and that's just going to be the reality and I'll cover the entire thing and I'll try and update everyone on because a lot of it's going to be, a certain set of votes will come in and then someone will go ahead, but you know how it is with election and it just depends. Are they doing the early vote first? Are they doing liberal counties? Are they doing the inner city? Are they doing rural? That's all how the votes are based on. So there are states that I do know the way that they count, like Ohio in specific. I think Ohio does. I would imagine they're bigger populated cities first because I remember both in 2020 and 2016, both Hillary and Biden were up in Ohio by about 7 or 8 points with like 40% in. So I'm just, you have to warn people ahead of time. She's probably going to be leading Ohio based on the way they count votes, and then Trump's going to take the lead. But with a state like Florida, I think you could get a massive knockout punch. I mean, we all know Trump's going to win Florida, but I think it could be pretty crazy. I mean, it's rigged in favor of Kamala. Well, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens, man. Have you seen someone this up in betting in 5 days and lose? Yeah, 2016. But 2016 was the exception, not the rule. 2016 was an outlier. Do you think Biden calling Trump supporters garbage will only boost the amount of Trump supporters who show up Tuesday? Well, not only that, it's just such a dumb comment because their entire closing argument was based off of that Hinchcliffe thing that they were going to run and use, and for all the Puerto Ricans. And remember when they were saying all the Puerto Ricans in Pennsylvania and all this, and he just completely destroyed that argument by saying something 10 times worse. What will my election night coverage look like? It'll be a lot of flipping back from X, from the New York Times Needle. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but that's something to look at. And then also probably Polymarket and also a few other betting sites I probably want to incorporate as well. I'd like to see all the betting sites on one page, but I don't think they have something like that to see how they update. Is there any evidence that polls will underestimate Trump again this election? In terms of evidence that they'll underestimate Trump, it depends what polls you go by. If you just go by the Real Clear Politics average, I do think there are a lot of lib slanted polls which could be evident, but you know, I think the polls are generally going to be more accurate. But I do think they will underestimate Trump in the Rust Belt. That's what I'll say. I think they'll underestimate him in the Rust Belt. The idea that they would underestimate him by a similar margin is 2016 or 2020. I mean, 2016, the popular vote really wasn't far off, but I just don't think it's going to happen like it was in 2020 to where they're that far off because that would be like a 4 point popular vote win for Trump. And I know some of you guys do think that's possible, but I would just be shocked if something like that happened. I think it's very, very unlikely. Trump said at one of his recent rallies, I love you all because he loves the rallies and knows it's ending. Made me sad. He loves the campaign. Yeah, man. I mean, he goes so. I mean, you do 3 rallies a day like that. It's pretty crazy. Um, but yeah, this will be it. I mean, this is the stretch run here for Trump. It's going to be 3 rallies a day, and this is it for his. He'll get in, and I don't know. Did he have any rallies after he won? I guess that's kind of frowned upon in the West to have rallies after you've won. But I know. No, no, you're right about Real Clear Politics. The page having all the betting odds, but it's not updated, so it's useless. I need it updated to the minute on election night because they'll be changing every minute with the votes that come in. This is his most iconic. Well, dude, I mean, after what happened in Butler, it has to be his most iconic campaign. Trump is going to campaign for maybe for Vance, but it's different when he's not the candidate. Found a guy on TikTok uploading your content. Um, I don't know if that's actually. I don't think that is because I did have someone uploading some of my videos trying to do short form. I just don't really like short form. But honestly, dude, does it even matter? I mean, you're not going to make any money off of TikTok, even if it doesn't really matter. You make like for 1,000 views, you make like half a cent. I'm not even kidding you on TikTok. But obviously, with TikTok, it's more so the sponsorships they need them, and then they try and build an audience, and then use YouTube. They say, "Oh, go to YouTube now." That's how they build their following really quickly. That's really the quickest way to build a following is through TikTok. But I never got into TikTok. What's my opinion on Benny Boy, Benny Johnson? I just view him as a Republican commentator. I still think Battleground sweeps has 50-50 odds. No, it doesn't. Oh, for either candidate you're saying, or for Trump? I think Trump is like 30% from what I saw. Trump is cleaning up the garbage after the last 4 years. That's the hope, man. Clemson's been good. You a Clemson fan? They've been really good after that week 1 loss. Sorry, Alan Lickman is a joke. He predicted a blue Georgia and North Carolina by lean and a red Arizona and Nevada by likely. Yeah, I certainly don't agree with Georgia. I don't know where he's getting the Georgia numbers from. I mean, Georgia is a very clear, very, very clear Trump lean right now. You could say Georgia's maybe a likely Trump at this point based on some of the gold standard polls they have in that state. It'd be very shocking based on all the polls that we have in that state that Trump would lose Georgia at this point. Also, I mean, they do like. I mean, it's not like look at Brian Kemp's approval rating. It's not like they dislike conservatives in that state. Obviously, it's a little bit different with Trump and Kemp, but they made up as well. Cade Klubnik, yeah, he's coming into his own. She's gonna have a meltdown when Ted Cruz beats Colin Allred. Yeah, Cruz is gonna win pretty easily too. That's the funny part. Trump has to win Arizona, but by 3.5 for a potential Lake win. Yeah, 3.5 to 4 is the number for Lake to win, I think. But I think it'll be close. I mean, we're really just speculating on that. You watch Vance Rogan. I saw I saw most of the clips from it, but I didn't watch the entire thing, admittedly. Can you share me on TikTok? Yeah, you can post my shit on TikTok. I don't care. I mean, what is it even? I don't even know. It doesn't even do anything. They had Lake up one today. Atlas Intel did. That's the only pollster. But there was also another data group that had Lake tied. I think Lake's going to be close. It's not going to be a blowout. I mean, there's some polls that had Lake down by like 12 or 13. Obviously, that's not going to happen. It's ridiculous. What if Harris loses but Biden steps aside so she can be president? It's a total shit show if that happens. But I guess it didn't happen. I mean, look at all these Republican commentators like talking about, well, Harris is going to take over for Biden, and that's the big October surprise. It never happened. Opinion on Trump's odds 50-50? No, it's better than 50-50. I mean, look, the election is relatively close, but no, it is not 50-50. Trump is the favorite. What are the odds for Trump to flip Oregon? Ha! Maybe plus 2,000 to flip Oregon or something. No, I mean it's like I think he's got like 3% chance to win it. Maybe 4. The Oregon ballot includes Kennedy. Well, react to Alan Lichtman's map prediction. I'll do that tomorrow. But I'm gonna actually I have to piss. I'm gonna end it here. I did a good hour 30. Are you confident in Pennsylvania? That's the one Rust Belt state I feel good about. Pennsylvania. We've gotten good polling out of Pennsylvania. Even CNN, who had really left leaning polls in the Rust Belt, their Pennsylvania poll was tied, which is good news. The polls in Pennsylvania are very positive right now. We would like, Trump to go up by more than zero point 0.6, though. You get like a Bloomberg out. But I mean, these are all very good polls. There are some ties here. It's close, but I like where Trump's at right now. But the gender gap. Well, the gender gap is with early voting as well. Women vote earlier than men. Men will hopefully make up a lot of that on election day, I think. But there's going to be fear mongering, obviously, because they want men to get to the polls. It's very important. I agree. But that a lot of that is just shoring it up, and that's why there was that big Republican campaign with men. You got to do your job. You got to get to the polls because there was that gap in the early voting. Always good content. Thank you, Zachary. I appreciate that. Happy 200K. I appreciate that. But yeah, that's going to do it, guys. Happy Halloween. It is Halloween night still. Early vote in Georgia was basically +5 Republican. I mean, it's good news. Early vote is what it is, but I think Trump's going to win that state.